Welcome to the Wake Up Call. It's the Top 5 Tuesday. We like to have a good time in here, the latest installment. And on this Top 5 Tuesday, Ahmad Brooks and I are going to give you our list, the 5 best questions or the 5 most important questions heading into the start of Longhorn football practices. The kids are showing up this weekend. Number 5 for me, can this offensive line with 3 new starters gel and return this running attack from whence it came? The coaches are serious about this, but you have to know that Chris Hall is gone. Adam Ulatowski is gone. Charlie Tanner is gone. And while the guys coming in, the guys projected to be starters include 4 seniors and a junior, the question remains, can they not only become effective starters, but also change this offensive style from a spread to a more conventional running attack? Number 5 on my list, what about this offensive line? Brooks?
For me, it boils down to which one of these freshmen will shine. I mean, when you look at the defensive side, Jackson Jeffcoat, Jordan Hicks, those 2 guys will have an immediate impact. And will they be household names by the end of the year? On the other side of the ball, Darius White, Mike Davis, DeMarco Cobbs, 3 wide receivers that I think will be required to play early to contribute some depth there. Which one of those guys will we know after the season? That's number 5 for me. Which one of these freshmen will shine?
Number 4 on my list of the 5 most important questions heading into training camp. Who's going to be the backup to Trey Newton? I personally believe that is a fait accompli. Trey Newton is the most complete back. I do think he's going to be the starter. But will it be Vondrell McGee? Will it be Fozzie Whitaker? Cody Johnson's already entrenched himself. He is the money back. He comes into the game inside the 5-yard line. Vondrell McGee, the senior, tough inside runner, but he's had injuries. And he had a problem holding on to the football. Fozzie Whitaker with a little more breakaway speed, great speed and outside runner, but he also has had a problem with injuries. Trey Newton, if we're going to return this football team to the glory days of running the ball, can't carry it on every down. Which back is going to be first up off the bench to come in and spell Trey Newton? That's a big question for me as we head into training camp.
Number 4, for me, it boils down to whether Garrett Gilbert will make the proper strides in order to have a successful career. We saw Colt McCoy following the footsteps of Vince Young, and he did an excellent job. Can Garrett Gilbert duplicate what he did? The quarterback play at Texas over the last decade has been incredible. You look at it, it's been very good. Major Applewhite, Vince Young, Colt McCoy. Will Garrett Gilbert add his name to that list? They're going to run the football more. Will that help this young man mature into being a great contributor? We hope so. And at the end of the day, will we be saying Garrett the Great? I don't know. More to come 2010 football season.
Number 3 on my list, what is to become of Blaine Irby? He's the tight end that when you think about the injury he suffered, everybody just kind of grimaced and turned their head away. It was a gruesome injury. He is trying to come back. He has vowed to come back. Probably Barrett Matthews, the starter at tight end. Probably the senior Greg Smith going to back him up, but Greg Smith, known as a blocking tight end, not necessarily a pass catcher. Can Blaine Irby get back on the field? Can he contribute to this offense? Can he catch a touchdown pass? I hope he catches 1 pass this season, and it's for a touchdown against somebody, just so he knows what it feels like, because he has endured an awful lot. Can Blaine Irby return to be a contributor to this football team? That's the number 3 thing I'm going to be watching for heading into this football season.
The Longhorns got to the national championship a year ago on dominant defense. Will Muschamp has done an excellent job of handling the spread. Many people thought that in the first year, that was the weakness of this defense. He came back and made that right. This defense finished 3rd statistically and really set its heights on getting that number 1 spot like the Horns did back in 2001. The question mark will be, how will these young guys be able to help and contribute to stopping the run, defending the pass? 3 guys were named to the Thorpe Award finalist list yesterday. Blake Gideon, Curtis Brown, Aaron Williams. Can they help this D-line come along the way and be a much better D than they were a year ago, which was going to be a very hard feat?
Number 2 on my list of questions going into training camp as the kids are going to report starting this weekend. I'm not worried about the DBs. The DBs are great. Probably the best secondary in the country. I'm worried about stopping the run. Consider this. If we add up all the tackles from a year ago, Rod McElroy's tackles, he's now with the Bengals. Lamar Houston tackles, he's now with the Raiders. Sergio Kendall, he's now in the hospital. Well, he'll be with the Baltimore Ravens. But if you add those guys up all together, that's a whole lot of tackles. And the young guys, Keaston Randall's going to have to be a beast. Now, Brooks has liked Randall for a couple of years. We're just waiting for the guy to be a monster. This has to be the year he's the monster. Eat up 2 and 3 blockers at a time so that a Sam Acho, who may be misplaced inside, can thrive. Can Jordan Hicks be as good as advertised as a freshman in Will Muschamp's system? I don't know Will Muschamp that well. I got to believe he's not crazy about sticking freshmen in there against Nebraska and Oklahoma. those guys are going to have to step up. Maybe it's Jeff Coat. How will the Longhorns stop the run in 2010? Number 2 on my list of questions heading into training camp.
9 straight 10-win seasons for the Longhorns, the second longest streak in NCAA football history, folks. The University of Texas has this machine rolling, and they're looking for their 10th year. My question is, no matter what takes place on the football field, can Mack Brown create that magic again? Can he create a roster that will get them 10 wins again this year and will put him closer to hitting that 14th-year mark that the Florida State Seminoles had from 1987 to 2000. That's my question mark, because 10 wins for Garrett Gilbert and a young defensive line and those things, I think would be a pretty decent year. Not the best year, but it'd be a good year for this Texas team.
Well, number 1 on my list, Garrett Gilbert. I mean, that's it. We've talked all morning long about the pros and about who should be the highest paid quarterback. The quarterback, he's the one guy. He and the center are the 2 guys that have the ball in their hands on almost every single play. Sometimes you could have a direct snap, I guess, but we all know what we're talking about. We are spoiled. We have seen the greatness of Colt McCoy for 4 years, Vince Young for 2 years before that. It's been a long time since the quarterback position was not excellent at the University of Texas. Garrett Gilbert has to be excellent, period. The end of story. He has to be as good as he was in high school. He doesn't have to win 30 straight games and 2 state title games, but I think he's going to have a lot of motivation coming back. Can he lead his team? Can he lead his team when they're down in the 4th quarter at Kansas State, which you know has always been a bugaboo for this program? We'll find out. Can he win on the road at Nebraska? Can he win in the Cotton Bowl against the Oklahoma Sooners? We're going to learn a lot about it. He grew a lot in Pasadena. Tough situation to be thrust into, and he performed pretty well. We'll see how much fuel he gets from that fumble inside the 5 against Alabama, and we'll see if Garrett Gilbert can be the man. That's number 1 on my list of questions heading into camp.
Number 1 for me is kind of in collaboration with that, because if this rushing offense, which finished 61st last year in the NCAA, I guarantee when Coach Brown looked at that, and this staff is very aware of where you rank, trust me, that was not acceptable. You have guys like Trey Newton, who I think will be the guy who's the best all-around back this year. But what will they get out of Vondrell McGee? Of course, Fozzie Whitaker. Even a guy like Chris Whaley, who they're expecting to be a decent short yardage back. And then you have some young guys coming in Traylon Shedd. This team will have the opportunity to rush the football more. Will these running backs and will this offensive line take full advantage of it? That's the number 1 concern for me, because we're missing out on big-time running back recruits here in Texas. And I'm not happy about it, and neither is this Texas program. Number 1, can we run the football effectively?
That's this edition of Top 5 Tuesday.
Yeah, yo.
You can check us out every Tuesday from 6 to 9 right here on the Longhorn Station, AM 1300 The Zone.